In recent years, fasting has become a popular health technique, particularly intermittent fasting. There's various ways to employ intermittent fasting. I've discussed the health benefits and the methods of intermittent fasting extensively in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, and I've also done so in a couple of past videos. Basically, fasting patterns incorporate regular 12 to 16-hour periods of fasting each day, while others include fasting for 20 or 48 hours once or twice a week. One of the main benefits of fasting is something called autophagy. Autophagy, without going into extensive technical detail, involves the clearing out of debris and, let's say, dead cells in the body. This allows the body to work more efficiently. It's extremely important to health. Autophagy also plays a role in muscle building and building muscle, because you have to clear out the debris and garbage that accumulates in muscle when you break down muscle tissue during working out. If there isn't a period of autophagy, muscle growth ceases. So a lot of people are concerned about intermittent fasting losing muscle. And related to this, in other words, are you going to lose muscle if you fast? In other words, you're not taking any protein or amino acids. Will this cause a loss of muscle? The truth of the matter is that there has been a couple of studies on that. And right now, the answer is kind of paradoxical. It's mixed. In some cases, depending on how long the fast is, you can lose a little bit of muscle, and other studies show no muscle loss at all. There are reasons why you don't lose muscle on a fast. For example, the longer the fast goes, for example, the longer fasts that, let's say, go for over 24 hours, what happens is your growth hormone levels go up dramatically. Growth hormone actually has tremendous anti-catabolic effects in the body, which will prevent the loss of muscle tissue. That's one reason why you don't lose muscle when you fast. Another reason has to do with the production of substances called ketones, which are metabolic byproducts of fat metabolism that can kind of provide energy for muscles and the brain and several other tissues. But the key point here is that ketones have an anti-catabolic action. They spare muscle tissue. For those two reasons alone, it's unlikely that fasting will cause a loss of muscle unless it goes on, let's say, past 3 days. When that happens, then you start to get a buildup of cortisol. Now, the growth hormone might kind of inhibit or blunt the effects of cortisol, which is a catabolic hormone, on a muscle breakdown, but you're still going to get some muscle breakdown with no food after 3 days, especially if you're a person that's been working out regularly. So, but the bottom line is that short-term fasts, 12 to 16 hours, even 24 hours, is not going to really hurt you. But a key question related to intermittent fasting is, I know it sounds silly, what should you eat during a fast? Now, the very definition of fasting means you don't eat anything. And yet I've seen many websites suggest that, what does my shoulder look crooked? Anyway, I've seen many websites that suggest that you take in branched-chain amino acids and other substances during the fast. However, that kind of kills the whole point of the fast. I mean, well, I'll get into that in more detail, but when you fast, your body undergoes a number of metabolic changes. After some time, as I said, fasting causes your body to enter ketosis, in which fat is used for energy when carbohydrates are unavailable. Low carbohydrate diets, ketogenic diets, they all increase ketones or ketone bodies. And as I said, ketones can be used as a source of energy. Fasting also causes insulin levels to decrease. And when that happens, you do two things. You open the door to increase fat oxidation when insulin goes down. And second of all, when insulin drops, you also increase autophagy, which I just described. That's the process by which your body rids itself of unneeded, damaged, or harmful cells. Intermittent fasting can be beneficial for weight loss, lowering blood sugar, improving heart health, reducing inflammation, and reducing your risk of chronic disease. As a matter of fact, some scientists believe that regular use of intermittent fasting can produce the same benefits, long-term benefits, as caloric restriction. Caloric restriction involves restricting your normal daily caloric intake to 30% less. And in many animal species, this has been shown to be the one method that leads to life extension in the animals. There isn't much evidence to show it does it in humans. However, humans who have gone on, voluntarily gone on caloric restricted diets for extended times do show various health benefits, such as lower insulin levels, lower blood glucose levels, lower body fat, and also better heart function and blood lipid levels. However, they also show higher cortisol levels, which also probably explains that, plus the lack of protein that's inherent in calorie restricted diets leads to a pretty considerable loss of muscle. I've seen pictures, and some of these people, they have something called the Calorie Restriction Society, where these people, again, voluntarily stay on very low calorie diets. And the men, some of these guys are like 6 foot tall and weigh 125 pounds. That doesn't allow for much muscle. Yet these guys are deluded into thinking that they have muscle. I've seen some of them where they flex their arm, they do a bicep shot, and it looks like a little pea sitting on the plate. It's pathetic. But, in other words, the bottom line, caloric restriction is not great if you're trying to build muscle. However, intermittent fasting can provide much, about probably 90% or more of the health benefits of caloric restriction without losing muscle. So that's one of the great things about intermittent fasting. Some experts say as long as you keep your carbohydrate intake below 50 grams a day, you can maintain ketosis. And again, ketosis is a primary feature of intermittent fasting. Now, what can you actually consume during a fast that won't interfere with fasting benefits? One obvious thing is water. Water has no calories, no fat, no carbohydrates, and it's a good idea to stay hydrated when you're on a fast. Dehydration can set in pretty fast. You can go without food for a pretty long time, but if you get dehydrated or you can't go without water, I believe it's for 3 days without imposing serious health risks. So you definitely, can drink water when you're on a fast. You can have some coffee and tea. But if you have the coffee and tea, you don't want to have any sugar, milk, or cream added, because again, you're providing calories, you're breaking the fast. Some people, however, find that adding a little bit of milk can curb the hunger. I would say not to do it, though. Again, when you're taking in milk in any amount, there's amino acids in there. You're going to stimulate an insulin release, which is going to kill the autophagy benefit of fasting, one of the main effects. Another thing you can have, believe it or not, is diluted apple cider vinegar. Some people find that adding 1 or 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar mixed with water can help them stay dehydrated and prevent cravings during a fast. Now, another good use of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to have a huge article on apple cider vinegar in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, because vinegar has some astounding effects that most people don't know about, particularly in controlling blood glucose levels and also in helping to oxidize body fat. That'll all be discussed in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. But right now, I will tell you that if you take 2 tablespoons of, let's say you're having some blood glucose problems, you're pre-diabetic or something like that, if you take 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar right before you eat a meal that contains carbohydrates, it's going to tremendously blunt the release of insulin that would be induced by the carbohydrates, and also lead to much steadier blood glucose levels following the meal. And that translates into less chance of producing body fat accretion from that meal. It's a little trick. Another thing you can have during the fast is healthy fats. Now, fat, of course, does contain calories. 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories per gram. But some people drink coffee that contains MCT oil, and they add coconut butter, the so-called bulletproof coffee. That theoretically you can have some of that on the fast, but if you have oil, it does break the fast. It's too much concentrated calories. But the oil, on the other hand, will not break the ketosis effect. So you're still getting the ketosis autophagy effect if you do have oil. But if you can, try and avoid all oil when you're on the fast, because it's just too concentrated a source of calories. Another thing you can have during the fast is something called bone broth, which is kind of a fad right now. It's a rich source of nutrients. It can help replenish some minerals, electrolytes that are lost during the early, if you're only drinking water. If you're drinking water, you're going to wash some minerals out. especially, because the water's not rich in minerals. Bone broth has a couple of minerals in there, not a lot, but it won't really hurt you during the fast. Now, like I said earlier, a lot of websites talk about uh, ingesting branched chain amino acids during a fast. So-called experts have written this, which is absolutely nonsensical, because branched chain amino acids elicit a pretty significant insulin release. And again, when you get the insulin release, you're gonna block the autophagy effect, which is one of the main features of fasting. And the reason why they suggest branched chain amino acids during a fast is because branched chain amino acids theoretically will spare muscle tissue. But as I said earlier, this is ridiculous to even consider, because you have two other mechanisms, mainly the increased production of ketones and secondarily the increased release of growth hormone, which both of them will spare muscle tissue during a short-term fast. So you don't need to take in branched chain amino acids. There's absolutely no reason. It's very stupid advice. You don't want to, for the same reason, you don't want to ingest any protein powder for obvious reasons. Protein powder, of course, contains the branched chain amino acids. Whey protein is 16% branched chain amino acids. And again, some of the amino acids, the glucogenic, they're called amino acids, will stimulate an insulin response and kill the whole purpose of the intermittent fasting. It's stupid. You don't go on the fast if you have to take protein powder. It's just, those can, there's other ingredients that supplements, you don't want to use supplements that contain stuff that can stimulate insulin or offset autophagy. For example, there's, some of these tablets have fillers in it containing maltodextrin, which is a type of carbohydrate. Some of them have cane sugar, believe it or not. Fruit juice contains sugar, obviously taboo for a fast. Supplements, the supplements that you can take during a fast, if you want to, again, not necessary for a short-term fast, but if you really feel that you, for some reason, want to take some supplements, what you can take are multivitamins. Any multivitamin that doesn't contain added sugar or fillers should contain few or no calories, and that's acceptable during an intermittent fast. You can have fish oil. In regular doses, these supplements don't contain that many calories, and they contain no carbs. Small amounts of fish oil are okay. Again, not necessary during an intermittent fast. You can take individual nutrients. You can take potassium, vitamin D, B vitamins. However, the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin E, D, A, and K, they require some fat to be absorbed. So if you want to take those vitamins, you got to take it with a little bit of, for example, you can take it with the fish oil. Otherwise, those fat-soluble vitamins will pass right through you. You can, I don't know why you would, but you can take creatine during a fast, because creatine does not stimulate an insulin response. I don't know why anyone would want to take creatine during the fast. Maybe because they think it'll help maintain energy for some reason. I don't know. You can also take hydrolyzed collagen. The collagen has a certain amount of amino acids that can impair autophagy, but it doesn't really affect ketosis. That's why they tell you that on ketogenic diets, which are extremely low carbohydrate diets of 20 grams or less, they tell you can take hydrolyzed collagen because it has very little effect on affecting ketosis or fat burning. You can also have prebiotics and probiotics. These are the substances that feed the intestinal microbiome, which is the population of various organisms such as bacteria and fungi that exist in the colon. Very, very important for health. You can, if you want to take, you can take probiotics or prebiotics if you want. Again, not really necessary, but if you really feel like you want to, it's not going to really hurt the effects of the fast. What do you do after the fast ends? What should you eat? The one thing you shouldn't do is gorge. I mean, there'll be a tendency after not eating for, let's say, 16 hours or more, 24 hours. Of course, the longer you go without food, the more there'll be a tendency to want to, pig out and gorge. You don't want to do that because it's a shock to the body, and it could cause, all kinds of hormonal problems. It's not worth it. So what do you want to eat after the meal? When you're ready to break the fast, you want to ease into food. Towards the end of the fast, you might want to introduce small portions of food that are more easily digested so you don't overwhelm your digestive system. Breaking your fast with foods that are especially high in fat, sugar, or even fiber will be difficult for your body to digest right after a fast, and that will lead to bloating and discomfort. So what can you have? Food and drink that you can have. Food drinks that can be even more shocking to your system after fast include stuff like greasy cheeseburgers, slice of cake, soda, uh, even high fiber raw fruit, raw produce, nuts and seeds may be difficult to digest. In other words, the heavy stuff you want to lay off it for a day or two. What you can eat is cooked vegetables. You can have yogurt. You can have fermented soups. You can have watermelon is good. Sweet potatoes, broth, nuts, a little bit of nuts, not too much. Eggs are fine. You can have milk if you want it. But the key to remember is you want to have small meals right after a fast and don't gorge. So I think that about covers what you can eat during a fast and what you should avoid. Again, avoid all protein foods during a fast. It completely devastates, kills the fast. It kills the whole purpose of the fast. One of the main purposes, that autophagy effect I discussed. So this is what you need to know about what you can eat, during and after a fast. So if you want more information, in fact, in the near future, as I said before, I've written articles on intermittent fasting, the health benefits in extreme detail, how it affects the brain, the circulatory system, cardiovascular. I've gone into extreme detail. However, since I've written these articles in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, there's been some new information that's come out about the health benefits and better ways to engage in intermittent fasting. And that will be discussed in an upcoming, let's say, update to my to intermittent fasting. I'm going to have a new article on it pretty soon in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, which will provide even more details. In my Applied Metabolics newsletter, which averages 40 to 50 pages every month, no ads. I'm not trying to sell you anything but solid evidence-based information. I talk about nutrition, exercise science, ergogenic aids, anti-aging research you can use today, fat loss techniques that really work, supplements that are a waste of money and supplements that really work, hormonal therapy such as testosterone replacement therapy, problems associated with it, and how to, if you do decide to do that, the best ways to go about it and how to prevent side effects. I also discuss women's health and fitness, many other topics. As I said, 40 to 50 pages. It's more like having a monthly ebook than anything else. So you want to subscribe today at www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I will send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page. It's again for subscribers only. Every day I post new information about medicine, health, nutrition, and exercise. I also have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website where current subscribers only can ask me short questions, which I'll answer. Again, only subscribers. You're welcome to leave comments under this video. You can also leave suggestions for future videos. But I can't guarantee that I will respond to all comments left under my videos because I just don't have the time. And so, by the way, my Applied Metabolics newsletter, I think it's superior for another reason, because I've looked at some of the other digital publications, and there's no one that I found that can even come close to matching me in experience and in studying over the years. I have 58 years of both practical experience in the gym and also academic and personal study that's not matched by anybody in the industry. And I incorporate this all in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. So again, subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They are the greatest, the best friends. As I said in past videos, I mean, everyone, God forbid, everybody in your life could turn against you. There's an old saying, nobody wants to know you when you're down and out, I mean, you could be happily in love, married, and your wife could turn against you. Your girlfriend can leave you for another guy. All kinds of people that you think will stay with you for life, who love you, will abandon you. And I'm not saying they always will, but they can. The one constant that will never abandon you is a dog. Trust me on this. Dogs are the most loyal creatures on earth. It's one of the reasons why I love them. They're the most, they accept you for the way you are. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what kind of personality. They are the closest to being angels on earth that I know of. So go to your local shelter and adopt a dog, any dog, small dogs, large dogs. They're terrific and they will love you to the day they die. Take care.